keeper to keeper. Gabaski against Mpasi. Gabaski! Advantage, DRC. Gabaski hits the bar.
Having missed the penalty, now having to come back and try to save this one from Mpasi.
A little wry smile there from Lino Mpasi. Can he win it? Mpasi! The Leopards are through. Egypt are out.
Hello and welcome to the On the Whistle podcast. My name is Alasdair Howorth. We've got a couple set of interesting interviews for you today with some AFCON winning coaches, but we'll get onto that in a second because On the Whistle has some exciting news. That's right, we've been nominated for an award, and you're as surprised as we are, to be honest. We've been nominated for the Football Content Awards for the International Podcast of the Year award, and it's really exciting for us, really edifying for the work we put in, particularly kind of Zane and Courtney and Francis, particularly Zane and Courtney, who kind of really started this project, the two of them. And as Courtney said in our group chat, he didn't think we'd make it to 2 podcasts, and here we are kind of 4.5 years later, having done 300 podcasts plus, having interviewed some of the biggest names on the continent and built a community of people who are interested in African football and want to celebrate African football in a way that perhaps our game doesn't get the credit that it deserves elsewhere. So it's a combination of judges and fan voting for the actual winner. So we'll put a link in the description if you want to go on and vote for us. That we'd really appreciate that. And obviously we didn't nominate ourselves, so whoever nominated us, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and it's kind of very, very exciting. Enough of that nonsense. You're not here to listen to me ramble on about potential awards that we almost definitely won't win. On the podcast today, we've got a couple interesting interviews. It was the CAF Coaching Symposium a couple weeks ago in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, obviously, where the AFCON was held a few months ago, earlier in January and February. And I was lucky enough to sit down with the head coach of DR Congo, Sébastien Desabre, and the head coach of Angola, Pedro Gonçalves, to just chat very briefly about kind of what brought about their success at the AFCON, what they're trying to build in those kind of respective countries. Obviously, like Pedro Gonçalves had been with Angola for 7 or 8 years, firstly in the club game, then in the youth game with the national team, and he slowly kind of built his way up to the national team, and he's built this really exciting project. And he actually resigned at the end of the AFCON. I think it has been a burden from him. He's lived away from his family for ages, who are still in Portugal, but he did a U-turn, staying with Angola, and they've had a really good start to the World Cup qualifying and AFCON qualifying. Beat Ghana, obviously, and it's kind of exciting to see what they're building. And DR Congo is similar. When Desabre came in at the start of their qualifying project for the last AFCON, they'd lost 2 games already. It really was a huge success just for DR Congo to qualify. And then for him to take them to the semi-final, obviously they made it all the way there, lost to the eventual winners, Côte d'Ivoire. And again, hearing about what he has done to turn around this kind of giant of African football that has so consistently underperformed was really interesting. And he's different from Pedro. He's has come in recently to the DR Congo setup, but he has a lot of experience on the continent in the club game. Obviously took Uganda to the 2019 AFCON, did superbly with them. Really, really talented coach. So I hope you enjoy, and if you want to get involved, tell us what you think about the interviews, how terrible my questions were, or you want to give us suggestions for other people we can talk to. We're always keen to find out who the listeners and viewers want to hear from and want to, whether it's us or whether it's more likely than not us. Do reach out to us on the whistle, OTW_podcast on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We're kind of everywhere you can look for us, and just search us on Google or on YouTube. Without further ado, here is Sébastien Desabre, the first set of interviews. Coach, you're obviously calling in from Abidjan, the site of where you previously this year with DR Congo did so well to get to the semifinals of the AFCON. How do you reflect both on the tournament, but also specifically on your team's performance in the tournament?
Yeah, for us, it's it's a good way for the AFCON, but also to validate our spirit before the competition. You know how qualification was difficult, very difficult. That maybe it's a surprise to be qualified for this AFCON, and after I think we say together, okay, it's possible to go far because we input a good spirit in the team, and also in DR Congo, I have the chance to have the good players with a good mentality. And after, during the competition, game after game, we feel it was possible to go far, but. Unfortunately, it's not enough to win the competition, but I think in semi-final we take one team better than us.
Yeah, of course, and you know, got knocked out by Ivory Coast, who seemed to have even got on their side, kind of doing the run that they did, making it all the way and winning the tournament. I wanted to ask you about that mood, kind of when you came into the team, because like you mentioned, the team had lost those first two qualifiers. You were in a really difficult moment, and you know, we've had people like Johan Wissa, we've spoken to them before, and we've spoken to quite a lot of kind of people from DR Congo, and they said one thing that set you apart from a lot of the other coaches that had previously come in, whether it's from Europe or South America, is you really wanted to embrace kind of the Congolese culture. And you know, Wissa was saying, actually, Sébastien, he knows us, he knows the players, he wants to know us. You know, he's come and spent a lot of time in Kinshasa, in Congo, you know, as opposed to just coming for the international break. And obviously you have a lot of experience of being on the continent, winning kind of trophies in Angola and Egypt, etc. How important to you was it to actually embrace kind of joining DR Congo and almost becoming an honorary kind of Congolese citizen yourself?
No, it's simple. When I have the contact with the ministry about this position, I think it's okay. Yeah, I know the context of the Congo. I know the work. The work at this moment is a very big work to put her discipline in this team and game discipline and game also outside the pitch. But I say to minister, okay, I want, but. One condition is not if I am just head coach, it's impossible for me. I want to be manager of all parameters around the team and head coach, and it's my condition to come. I decide all about the team. And after some discussions, the ministry understand it's the whole solution. It's a whole solution for that. And after I can put my rules, my strategy, my staff also, my friendly game, all professional things to improve the level of the team on the pitch, because the ask to the players was. It was not professional, and now I think we are a top organization outside the team, and all players haven't excuse today to do the result, and the player are in the best condition, like the famous national team in Europe, for example.
Are there any examples you have of things that you've implemented since joining the team to make it more professional, or things that were struggling before?
Well, it's a lot of things. One thing is rules. It's rules by papers, and all players sign the papers, all staff sign the papers, and we decide the rules together with some players, representative of the host players, my staff also, and we move forward with the democratic rules, you know, and all is connected in the project. And one example, it's impossible to move forward alone, or alone my staff. We need the players. The player needs the staff, and whole. And it's a collective project, and it's one example.
And I want to ask, you know, kind of post AFCON, obviously you've done very well since then in terms of your World Cup qualifiers against Senegal and Togo, and then obviously just recently in your AFCON qualifiers, you've gotten off to a great start. But one of the things that is interesting is, you have you've been able to bet in some new players, bring in some new players who are from the diaspora. And I'm wondering, from a Congolese perspective, how much of a difference does it make that these players who you're, approaching, I'm thinking players like Axel Tuanzebe and players like that, how much easier is it for them to come into the team now that they've seen that actually this coach is serious, they're professional, and they've been to a semi-final of the AFCON. How much has that success been able to improve DR Congo's kind of capacity to attract, because there's so many players of Congolese descent throughout Europe who are so good and so talented, but it must be such a challenge to kind of bring them in.
Yeah, yes, you're right. Before some players like Axel or Axel Piquet or another players decide to play for another country, to be afraid about about the Congo, because the sound was not good. Clearly, okay, it's right. But some coaches before me try to work in this condition, have a success, like Florent Bengue do lot of things very good, and after I continue that. But now, sure, I receive a lot of calls about agent, about Congolese, young Congolese to play. But now we have 30 players, and in tactical aspect, to move every time is not easy for us. We have the players only 8 days or sometimes 3 days to prepare the first game, and it's important to have a continuity on the squad. But start to refresh some position. The last camp, we have three no players. Sadiki, young players, 19 years. Mbuku, 19 years. Muko from Lille, 19 years. We start to think to the future also. It's our job.
And for you guys, kind of, you said you wanted to be a manager, not just a coach. I want to ask, how has that kind of impacted your approach in terms of bringing in players or working with players who are more locally based? I mean, I know you have a lot of players who you've worked with who maybe aren't necessarily at TP Mazembe or AS Vita, but some players, I think Fiston Mayele and Okpaka, who've been in Tanzania and, elsewhere in North Africa. How has that been, trying to develop the kind of more local side of things and that approach?
I say to the federation, it's important in Congo. Always you have local players in the team. If it's local player, the players not totally born outside. Like Chancel Bamba, it's a local player for me. Edo Kayem, it's a local player. Baka, and it's very important to stay with this mentality, because it's a connection between two mentality. Who gives the success of the team. One team only with a player, don't know the country, don't know the history, just some parents Congolese is not good, because Congo, it's mentalities, and we need to understand the mentalities in Congo to give the maximum. It's difficult for a player from outside to play in Kinshasa. It's not the same football, it's not the same pressure, and not to discover that, and the advice from Bemba, from Kayembe, from Mayele, it was determinant for these players.
Coach, thank you so much. I know you have to go, so I thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
That was Coach Sébastien Desabre. Really interesting. I think about that code of conduct, the contract that he has with the players. So I kind of want to hear a bit more about that. Obviously, it's really interesting to hear how he's been so successful. Now moving on to Pedro Gonçalves, again, quite an interesting character, as we mentioned before, and I think he kind of alludes to some interesting ways in which he's been able to bring out that success in Angola in a very different way to Sébastien. So here is Pedro Gonçalves. I was at the AFCON covering part Angola at the AFCON, and I wanted to ask you kind of, what was your, months later now, what is your assessment kind of on Angola's performance after AFCON? Because you were one of the biggest surprises of the tournament, doing so well in such a difficult group with Burkina Faso and Algeria, getting to the quarterfinals. How do you reflect on the tournament now, kind of further down the line?
Well, I think the most important really is the the process we make till now, because in last month in August I finished 5 years during that job. So yeah, we improve a lot. We crosses a lot of setbacks, but 2024 for us, I think, is the year where we show our performance. So really is a process of 5 years plus 2 years, almost 3 years in young national teams, and the product of that work now we are showing for everybody. The AFCON, the winning the COSAFA, it was very important because we grabbed young boys from the national team. So yeah, the process is makes sense right now for everybody. But for me, I feel very, very happy about, because I put all my efforts to achieve that level. And it's not the finish of the job. I think we are in the middle of the journey till now. Our objective or our aim is reach the top 10 in Africa. So we are step by step. The distance for the Big Ten are I always say that more close. So yeah, everybody are inspired right now for the future, and I feel right now we are really a national team with power, and with the Angolan people behind us, pushing us, and this is very important for us.
And coach, you mentioned the fact that it's been 5 years, but there was also the time before you became the coach. And we saw at this most recent AFCON, it was the AFCON with the highest number of local coaches. So, not so many Europeans are coming to coach African clubs, African team, but you're one of them. But unlike a lot of others, you've spent so much time in Angola, and you've sacrificed so much to be there. You've been coaching at your club level, Primero, then the youth setup, then coming 5 years now on the national team. How important do you think that experience of kind of being in Angola, being Angolan yourself almost, has been to you becoming the head coach and being so successful?
Yes, well, it's the way I feel my work. I'm a coach since '96, so almost 28 years working, and I only worked for 5 institutions, 4 clubs, and now the FA. So I think show the way I feel, the way I'm involved in the projects. So I'm already almost 10 years in Angola, 7 with the FA, 5 with the first team, and I cannot. I'm a coach with don't look only for the moment. Sure, we want to be competitive. Sure, we want to win all the matches, but it's not only the moment. It's a project. It's an idea. So it's change the mindset, involve everybody. Involve in that case is the national team, all the citizens, not only inside home but all over the world. There is a lot of Angolans abroad, and now for me is a big proud everybody behind, as I said, pushing for us, absolutely involved with the national team. It's absolutely different. 5 years ago, when I started, believe it was absolutely different.
And one big difference we've seen is post AFCON, we've seen a lot of more interest from the diaspora. So I think of players like Manuel Benson, who obviously wasn't in the camp recently because of his injury, but is a terrific player, is an Angolan heritage, and is now committed to playing for Angola. How important is that success for approaching this huge diaspora? There's so much talent there. I think of even some of the players of Portugal, like Rafa Leao, these guys who are amazing and are from Angola.
I coach him in
in Sporting. I saw that. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe you say Rafa.
I invite him.
Oh, really?
Before, but he said, "Coach, I want to play for Portugal national." I respect.
Which is fair enough. But do you think maybe now the next Rafa Leao coming through at Sporting, he says, I can play for Portugal, but actually also Angola is doing so well, and I want to represent my mother and my father. How important is the success of the AFCON and even the COSAFA Cup as well to bringing in these players?
Yes, it's part of the plan, because when we start in 2019, I put two items to evaluate. Is the push from the young boys inside home, that I made the bet for World Cup, and I knew it, the value of them, and also grab all the best values players in the diaspora, in abroad, and get the commitment of them. So it was hard. It was hard because the conditions were very low in the first years. But step by step, very resilience, we are growing and get the confidence of everybody. So after the AFCON, sure, everybody was delighted with our performance, but then it's more easy to get the commitment, and that part of Manuel Benson, Randin Tech, and our young players, they want to join us. Now makes sense, all the efforts, as I said, but we have more potential to develop. We have more potential to develop. So, as I said, it's not the end of the process. Now we are more stronger, but we have potential for much more, and for sure to try to beat the big nations in Africa and play face to face with them.
Coach, I'm looking forward to seeing if this is only the beginning of the success. Thank you so much. I know you have to go, so I'll let you go, but I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach. There you have it. Two guys who clearly been there and done it on the continent we've seen, and hopefully from our perspective, we love to see success stories. I think particularly in an African football context, it's easy to dwell on the kind of Cameroons of the last couple of years, the Nigerias who are kind of basket cases, but I think it's also really exciting, far more so from my perspective, to hear about these countries, DR Congo and Angola, where it's actually you're getting things right, you're laying down the foundation for work that hopefully will be kind of reaped, as particularly in Angola's case and Pedro's case, over the course of almost decades. So it was a pleasure to speak to them. If you're interested in hearing more about what we do, we've got some amazing backlog of interviews from big stars like Kanu. I think we've even got Xabi Alonso from a few years ago. We interviewed CAF President Patrice Motsepe last week. You can go into our back catalog, but otherwise, please do give us a follow. Please do give us a like. It really helps with kind of spreading the word of the On the Whistle podcast. So please like, share, subscribe, etc. I'm going to love you and leave you. Thanks for listening.